Chancellor, Granny Freezer, Rachel Reeves, is ripping down all the paintings and all the portraits in the number 11, the Chancellor's house, number 11 Downing Street State Room. The main one is apparently a very impressive, massive picture of King James II. And the reason she's doing this is because there's too many men. So all the paintings now in the State Room at number 11 Downing Street will be of women by women. Particularly, apparently, there will be one by the famous Millicent Fawcett, and so on and so forth. That is an incredibly Philistine thing to do. You know, you don't go, oh, well, we don't want to look at that art because it's by a man, just as you don't want to look at that art because it's by a woman. So, you know, I mentioned this as a backdrop to what's going on with the fourth plinth in Trafalgar Square. The new sort of decoration there, the new masterpiece that will adorn the fourth plinth is mille veces un instante, which means 1,000 times in an instant. It's by the Mexican sculptor Teresa Margolis, so that's nice and British, isn't it? This masterpiece features the plaster-casted faces of 726 transgender, non-binary and gender non-conforming people. Many of them are Mexican sex workers. Apparently it's a tribute to Margolis's friend, a trans woman called Carla, who was killed in Mexico in 2015. So, first of all, what on earth is this tribute to Mexican trans people doing on the fourth plinth in London, in Britain? By the way, the only good thing is apparently it will be open to the elements and it's made of material and will slowly and gradually disintegrate and dissolve. So if you get there in about 18 months, with a bit of luck, it'll be completely gone. But for the meantime, we can look at a load of the moulded, plaster-cast faces of Mexican trans sex workers. I mean, it's... Really? Why?
Completely why, as you say. I mean, absolutely nothing to do with Britain. It's a really iconic site. I was actually just looking into the history of the fourth plinth, and over the years there have been some amazing installations on there. Some of them you and I might not have been so keen on. People will remember very famously the first one of a disabled woman called Alison Lapper, pregnant, but
yeah, I remember,
no legs and shortened arms. And that was a very kind of powerful statement, wasn't it? I mean, I didn't like it, but I could get it. She was British, I think, at least.
Yes. And then there was the ice cream with a big fly on it. I mean, all of these.
There was also Nelson's ship in a bottle, which is really interesting, and the Blue Rooster. I mean, a very imaginative range of installations. This, I think, is pretty depressing, isn't it? I mean, I don't get it. I don't get why we should be celebrating Mexican sex workers in one of the most iconic sites in the centre of London. I am pleased to hear that gradually this monstrosity will disintegrate. And in fairness, from a distance, it isn't a monstrosity. I should correct myself there. It doesn't really look like much. It just looks like a kind of block of white plaster cast. Maybe there's a way of hastening along its natural erosion, shall we say. I mean, maybe we can whip up a few extra storms, a bit of cloud seeding, maybe.
This thing just go and put watering cans all over it, hose it. Let's all go down there and hose it for a few hours. I mean, the point is here, this is a tribute to transgender, non-binary and gender non-conforming people. OK, but it was recently confirmed that in the last census of Britain, it turned out like 262,000 people in this country are transgender. That's 0.5% of the population. a tiny fraction of this 70 million strong island. And subsequent to that, it turned out that those statistics are probably wrong. There's actually far fewer than 262,000 trans people in this country, because the census question was difficult, and if you didn't speak very good English, a lot of people, they feel answered it wrong. So you're talking about like less than 250,000 people in a country of 70 million. So it's a tribute to them, but not even them. It's to Mexican trans people. To call this marginal is something of an exaggeration. I mean, the reason I brought up Rachel Reeves's Philistine art removal from number 11 Downing Street to go hand in hand with Keir taking down the picture of Maggie Thatcher in number 10 is this is typical socialism. They use art to promote their culture of grimness. And this is what worries me. This is a flavour of Britain under Keir Starmer. Joyless, miserable, sending messages, using art to promote policy. This is what worries me about this sort of thing.
Well, I mean, it's entirely consistent with what you said, which is a kind of student politics. I mean, actually, Rachel Reeves doesn't need to make that point in number 11. She herself is the point. She has made it to the second highest office in the land. She's the Chancellor. That is fantastic. I think she is the first female Chancellor. So she doesn't need to overplay her hand on that front. Actually, we should be in a post-equality, post-aggressive feminism world. And she demonstrates just how unnecessary it is to do what she's just done. And I don't think it kind of, what does it change in a way? What's the point of it? It's just very, very student politics, really. It'd be interesting to see if they find themselves a female defence secretary. That's still a very, very male bastion. And if that happened, having been inside the Ministry of Defence a few times, that really is. Every wall is a kind of gallery of men, and it'd be fascinating to see what this Labour lot would manage to do with the artwork in there. I mean, would they be replacing famous battle scenes and generals with, I don't know, some lesbian, I don't know, Brazilian pacifist?
Yeah, I'm sure they will. But you're right about Rachel Reeves. You've got to hand it to her. But let's not. She's risen to the second most. The second highest post in the land, one of the great offices of state. But let's not forget, Isabel, that's as far as she will be allowed to go, because in the Labour Party, only white men are allowed to be the leader. You know that. You understand that is the system.
I very much do understand that. There's a long history of it only being deputies, as Harriet Harman would be able to attest. But there's a bigger reason why she'll never be Prime Minister, and that is because she's about to unleash absolute economic destruction on our country, all whilst pretending that it's all about going for growth. She is preparing to unveil a set of policies that will have the precise opposite effect. Yeah,
I mean, she trades on this. I used to be an economist at the Bank of England, etc. But so far, the aura surrounding her as Chancellor of the Exchequer is one of uselessness, and I think it might get worse. And if she says one more time, the black hole, the £22 billion black hole, with the chaos we inherited from the Tories, stop blaming everyone else and start doing your job properly. Honestly, it's pathetic. This government, as you say, we all thought they'd be bad, but they've exceeded all expectations. It's astonishing. It's a shambles.